We've all heard the story of the Titanic, the tragic tale of a gigantic passenger liner that sank to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, taking thousands of lives and memories with her. What if I told you we had our own Titanic? Well, we do. She was called the Empress of Ireland, also known as Canada's Titanic. And this is her story. In 1903, Sir Thomas Shaughnessy, who was the president of the Canadian Pacific Railway at the time, purchased 15 ships as additions to his company. The transportation market was constantly on the rise because of the increasing flow of immigrants. These ships would allow the CPR company to increase the traffic on the railroad by taking passengers from where the ships docked in Quebec City to their new homes all across Canada. In 1904, the CPR ordered from Scotland 2 passenger liners that would be the fastest, biggest, and safest ships for crossings to Canada, the RMS Empress of Britain and her sister ship, the Empress of Ireland. These liners were said to be the most beautiful, sumptuous, and fastest ships to sail the St. Lawrence River. The Empress could accommodate 1,530 passengers. Often about 60% of the passengers aboard the Empress were all immigrants. There was never a dull moment on the Empress of Ireland, and no one was afraid that anything bad would ever happen. She was made to the standard of safety for her day. She had an adequate number of lifeboats for every passenger and watertight doors and compartments. On the afternoon of May 28, 1914, the Empress of Ireland set sail from her dock in Quebec City to Liverpool. Her captain of this voyage, Henry George Kendall, was an expert British sailor who had sailed for the CPR company for more than 10 years. At 1:20 a.m., the Empress of Ireland was set on course, heading northeast to Liverpool, when a ring from the lookout's bell warned the crew that a light had been spotted through the darkness. At 1:40, Kendall ordered that the ship's bow be pointed farther east, so they would be headed parallel to the sighted ship. The plan was for the 2 ships to pass each other starboard to starboard, each showing the green light located on her right side. But soon both ships were enveloped in a thick fog, making it extremely difficult to see the dim lights of the other vessel, a Norwegian collier. Out of each other's sight, both ships tried to communicate by signaling each other with whistle blows. The collier vessel maintained her course, assuming that she could still make it past the liner. Within minutes, the Empress crew on deck could see the vessel's indication lights emerging through the thick fog. It was less than a kilometer away and headed straight for them. Captain Kendall used his megaphone to yell across the water at the other crew, urging them to bring their engine to a halt, but he knew it was too late. The collision was unavoidable. As Kendall watched the opposing vessel lurch through the dark water, only meters away, he ordered his crew to prepare the lifeboats. The vessel sounded 3 warning whistles before they collided. Its bow crashed into the liner's starboard side, forcing a gaping hole right in her center. The collier slipped away into the fog as swiftly as it appeared, leaving the Empress of Ireland with a list so large she was already tilting onto her side. Kendall ordered for the watertight doors below deck to be sealed, but it was useless. Water flowed through her open hole and through the lower portholes that the passengers had left open. Passengers in their bunks on the starboard side were most likely killed instantly, drowning in their sleep. Escape for the passengers aboard the Empress was difficult for a couple reasons. For starters, they hadn't even been on the ship for half a day. They were unfamiliar with the passageways and possible exit routes. Another factor was the power went out almost immediately, making it impossible to see. A lot of the first-class passengers were awakened by the noise from the collision, and some of them managed to get into lifeboats. Out of the 11 lifeboats that were launched full of passengers, 6 of them capsized into the freezing water, killing everyone aboard. By 2 o'clock, the ship lied completely on her side in the water. Passengers that were on deck weren't for long. They either fell hopelessly into the water or jumped themselves. Before the ship lost complete power, the crew managed to send a distress signal to alert 2 other ships to the rescue, but it already was too late. Captain Kendall had been thrown overboard, but was pulled up into a lifeboat by a crew member. Within 14 minutes of the collision, the RMS Empress of Ireland was completely submerged under the icy black waters of the St. Lawrence River, taking hundreds of lives with her. Out of 1,477 passengers and crew members that had set sail on the Empress from Quebec, only 456 survived. Out of 128 children, only 4 were taken to safety, most likely orphaned. As the first light of day began to reach across the water, the Norwegian vessel had returned with lifeboats to help Kendall and the remains of his crew search for any signs of life. When they reached land, the struggle wasn't over. Family members had to identify corpses and mourn their losses. some were never able to see their loved ones again because their bodies were lost to the water. Henry Kendall and Thomas Anderson, the captains of the ships, went through numerous trials for the court to decide who was at fault for this catastrophe. Anderson was eventually accused for the damage and the sinking of the Empress of Ireland because he was found to be going at full speed in unsafe conditions. This historical disaster holds the records for the largest number of deaths of any Canadian maritime accident in peacetime. The strange thing about this tale is that it ends in the death of more passengers than the Titanic, yet the Empress never gained the same kind of legendary reputation. You'll never hear the Empress of Ireland theme song, and you'll never see Leonardo DiCaprio dramatically gazing over the St. Lawrence River. But all the same, it's a story that changed the lives of many. So then why isn't it a more well-known story? Well, it's believed that the sinking of the Empress of Ireland was simply too devastating, that it makes it difficult to remember. The liner was made safe enough that all those passengers could have survived, yet the fate and circumstance proved to be more powerful and go beyond our expectations and preparations. But perhaps some things are best left unsaid. And just because things are left unsaid does not mean they're forgotten, especially not the desolate steel coffin that lies at the bottom of the St. Lawrence River.